Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Community Climate Hub full webinar series. And for those of you joining us for the first time, welcome to the Community Climate Hub initiative. My name is Kelly Quintero, Research and Communications Intern at the Climate Reality Project Canada. Through several trainings each year, including in Denver and Seattle early this year, and in Pittsburgh in October, Climate Reality trains leaders to share the urgency of and solutions to climate change. We are also helping create community climate hubs throughout the country that will raise the bar on climate action in their cities while spurring ambition at the provincial and federal levels. This webinar in particular is the last in our fall series, which you can see on your screen. Webinars are meant to exchange best practices and tools that you can use in your own community to accelerate the transition to a low carbon economy. We'll be announcing our winter series of webinars in January, but you can sign up today at climatehub.ca to stay in the loop. Today's webinar features Helmi Ansari, CEO and Chief Sustainability Officer of GROSCHE International, Inc., a leading provider of craft coffee and tea brewing gear for home use. Helmi leads the agenda on social enterprise, safe water provision, and new product development. He has developed the GROSCHE Safe Water Project, by which they provide 50+ days or more of safe drinking water for every product that they sell. They are installing water purification equipment in 6 countries and have funded over 50 million days of safe drinking water so far for people in need. Helmi is the recipient of the SCL Green Supply Chain Award and has been named to Canada's Clean 50 list, among other honors. He and his wife live in Cambridge, Ontario, with their 3 daughters. He enjoys traveling and Chinese martial arts. Thanks for being with us, Helmi.
It's my pleasure, Kelly. Thank you for having me. I will go ahead and share my screen now, so that will mute your audio. Here we go. Okay, hopefully everybody can see my screen. Kelly, if you can see my screen that's coming up, you can?
Yeah, clearly.
But I can't see it. What's going on?
Yeah. Now it's in black.
Yeah, as soon as I hit slideshow.
All right, if you'd like to just leave it.
Yeah.
Okay, let's just leave it this way then.
Fine.
Yeah.
We'll just work with this. If you can see it, that's great. So thank you for joining, everybody. My name is Helmi, and I'm with GROSCHE International. And over the next few minutes, I'll be sharing with you our journey as a company from where we started in the basement of our house around 10 or 12 years ago to where we've come to today. And hopefully there'll be a few tidbits that you find of value in our journey. So our brand actually started, I like to think, 12, 13 years ago when I started learning about sustainability and the issues related to sustainability. In this graph here, I learned about 3 main things: weather, water, and waste. In weather, of course, I learned about climate and what's happening to our environment with energy being used to improve the lives of people around the world. And in fact, we're using a lot more as our population grows, as our intensity of usage grows. And we're going to need a lot more of it in the future as well. Well, what does that mean? Well, I learned about the impact of that energy and how the greenhouse gases in our environment are creating huge stresses on our climate and are causing climate change. And it really worried me, as a parent, thinking about what kind of a world am I going to leave for our kids. then weather was kind of one aspect. The other one is the issue of water. I learned that almost 800 million people in the world don't have access to clean drinking water. And almost 1 million people lose their lives every year for something as basic. Many of us are fortunate that we can just open our faucet and drink the water that comes out of it, but 1 million people die because they're not able to access safe drinking water. So I got concerned about water, and finally I learned about waste. I learned that waste is actually an invention of our human species, that in nature, ecosystems are closed and they're balanced, and what one species waste is actually an ingredient for another species to use in its own course of its life. But we've invented the methodology of taking something out of the ground, turning it into something you use, and then turning it into waste that can never be reused again, and it has to be landfilled. And I wondered, what is the role of business? The global economy is measured in trillions of dollars. And if the global economy and if business could be a real solid part of the solution, we might be able to make humongous progress against these issues of weather, water, and waste, and address some of the human challenges that we're facing. At the time, I was working for a large corporation, for PepsiCo, and I was fortunate that through in my initiative and through support from my team, I became the director of sustainability for PepsiCo Foods Canada. While I was there, we launched the first all-electric delivery fleet in Canada. We launched the world's first compostable snack chip bag with Sun Chips at the time. And we were all about transforming the company from within to become as sustainable as we could be. And it was terribly exciting. We also won every single award that's in the book, from top 50 socially responsible to government awards to et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But at the end of the day, it always came back down to corporate social responsibility, people telling us that CSR is, something you do because it's once the P&L is done, if you have some money left over, you put it towards corporate social responsibility. Well, at that time, I learned about the concept of CSV, creating shared value for not just your customers, but also for stakeholders, the community, and the planet. So my wife and I decided to start a little tea company out of our house, and we started making tea, packing tins of tea, blending them, and using the profits to do social work, social development. Since then, our company's come a long way. Today, we have a line of over 250 products that are available on our website and through major retailers like Bed Bath & Beyond, et cetera. But we make tea infusers, coffee makers, to-go tumblers, et cetera. Why we do this is very important. And for us, the why comes together in this mission wheel that we have. So the mission, as we've defined it for ourselves, is to be a source of joy in the world. I grew up in the corporate world, and our mission statements were usually that we want to be the biggest, baddest, most profitable ones. We want to beat the competition. We want to have the most market share, typical corporate type mission statements. But what my wife and I wanted to do was to make GROSCHE something very different. And we met with our team, and we went through like a 6-month process to distill it down to this. And we said, look, to be a source of joy in the world is what fits within our mission. Within this mission statement, we look at our customers and consumers. So how do we provide products that people love? Company and culture, we look at creating a company and a culture that people like to be at and feel joy to work here. We think about sustainable growth, so growing in a way that we're able to maintain our culture and our focus, and society and planet is being, good, positive role models in our local community, as well as in the global community, and taking a look at sustainability from an environment standpoint and from a social standpoint as well. So that's our mission statement that we've crafted and that we live by. Here are some of the places you can find our products today. So it's a far cry from when we started. Actually, our first sales were in our neighborhood. My wife and I would pack the tins of tea at night, and on the weekend, I would carry them on a backpack and go door to door in my neighborhood selling these teas, even though I was a senior level director at a large company at that time. But today you can find us in all these different places. In terms of our local efforts, I'm going to talk about a little bit about our mission wheel. So in terms of our local efforts, about 3 to 4 times a year, we shut our office down and we go volunteer in the local community. This is us working with Habitat for Humanity, helping build homes. You'll see all the circle Bs on people's t-shirts. So we were partnering with other B corporations, and I'll get to B Corps a little bit later in the slideshow here. So helping build homes for those in need in a local community. This is us working at a local food bank, organic food bank garden in the neighborhood in Cambridge to help grow organic food for people in the area. This over here is a snapshot of our team in South Sudan where we ran a banana plantation. This over here with the stylish hair, I always bug him about his hair in this photo, is Chris. He's one of our staff members and he was in South Sudan. We ran a banana plantation teaching people how to plant and grow bananas to create income for themselves from this banana plantation project. Right now, the banana plantation is on hold because of civil war. Our entire team they're all refugees in Uganda right now. So we're hoping for peace to return and we're hoping to go back soon and restart our project. Next, I'll share a bit about our safe water work that we do. So this is this filter that you see in the middle here, this blue filter where my cursor is a biosand filter. So we take a significant portion of our profits and we invest it in providing these biosand filters to people in need around the world. As Kelly mentioned earlier, we're in 6 different countries so far: South Sudan, Uganda, Malawi, Philippines, India, and Pakistan, where we have these filters installed. The filters use no electricity, no chemicals, there's no cartridges, no filters to replace, and they purify water bacterially, microbially, from worms, eggs, viruses, for turbidity, for odor, for 25 to 30 years, and they provide enough safe water for a family of 10 people. So we've provided enough filters right now around the world, several hundred, I think close to 500 filters. And we've installed capacity to filter over 50 million human days of safe drinking water. And remember, we're not a big company. We're a small company of around 9 to 10 people here in Cambridge, trying to do this work with our profits. So imagine if a large company with humongous scale were to try and use their business as a force for good, how much they'd be able to accomplish. This is another one of the filters in the Philippines. I took this picture with my cell phone when I was there this past February. This home is about 10 feet by 10 feet that you see back there. It's on stilts. It's on stilts because in the rainy season it gets flooded. And 10 people live in this home. This biosand filter is the most valuable possession that these people own. A third of the children that live here, are born here, don't make it to age 3. And the majority of them are impacted by unsafe water. Here's a filter that we've just installed in southern Pakistan. Beside me here is my wife, and that is my daughter. So we all work on these projects together. So very rewarding work. And the little girl, I was happy to meet her when I was there this year. So other than the Safe Water Project, when we look at what kind of company we want to build and what we stand for, we are also a living wage employer and a living wage champion, meaning we pay our staff and our contractors and anybody we hire all a living wage. We pay them all a living wage, and we also advocate for it and we stand for it because we believe that anybody that's working 40 hours should not be living in poverty. We opened the very first living wage retail store in the city of Guelph about 1.5 years ago now. And we are the first multi-site living wage employer in the province of Ontario. I was quite surprised when I found that out, but I suppose, we started, we're on the leading edge, I guess, of the living wage movement as well. Here are a few things about on the environment side. So I apologize, this is a very busy slide, but I'll try and walk us through this. So we've reduced our energy usage by over 40% now because all the lighting that you see behind me in our entire warehouse has all been retrofitted to LED. Our warehouse here, this main warehouse, is just over 10,000 square feet, and our electricity bill for here is less than $100 a month, $80 a month, something like that. So when you think about that, at this scale, to have such a small electrical footprint, it's pretty much unheard of. And we've had different energy conservation people and our partners come by here and they're like, you can't do any less than what you're doing. So pretty impressive in a 120-year-old building. We've transformed our packaging to use more than 50% recycled content. Whatever electricity we use green energy for, and we, in our case, partner with Bullfrog, but there's certainly lots of people out there you could work with. Whatever carbon footprint is left at the end of the day, we offset it multiple times over with Carbon Fund. We've been partnering with Carbon Fund for, I think, more than 7 or 8 years now. We've got certificates all around the office. We also initiated, we're in a building of many tenants, and we initiated the landfill diversion program for the entire building. So we started a composting program and a recycling program. This industrial building never had it before. It's been here for 100 years. Nobody ever did it. But year to date, we're at 91% diversion of waste from landfill for our warehouse and office facility. So we're pretty proud of that. We set ourselves an 85% target and we're running at 91%. So you can bet that we're going to raise the target for next year. And down below the last 2 charts, so this is a full carbon footprint that we did of our entire operation. The bigger circle, and I apologize, this is a little hard to see, but the larger circle here is our supply chain portion of where our CO2 and our greenhouse gas emissions come from as a company. So that's importing our products into Canada. And then you have electricity, natural gas, landfill waste, and transportation is the big part of it. So we've done like a full carbon footprint end to end of our entire supply chain. And by the time we've done reducing all of our CO2 and offsetting what we can't reduce, this is our net carbon footprint for the last 3 years. So you'll see the line up here that's actually 0. So we are actually 15.24 tons below 0, meaning we're absorbing as a company, or I like to say negative, some people say positive, but we're below 0 for 2014. 15, we were 65 tons under, and in 15, we were 65 tons under. In 2016, we were 188 tons to the negative. So, put all this together, look at weather, water, waste, look at the environment, look at society. It only made sense for us to be a B corporation. And B Corps are businesses that have decided to use their business as a force for good in the world to make positive social change and social impact. And in our category of companies that sell coffee and tea gear and that are retail commodity products, I think we're the only one that has this much depth in kind of what we're doing. And certainly our direct competitors don't do anything like what we have on the go. So we're a B Corp along with these other brands that you see there. And we are very blessed and honored to have been named to the Best for the World list for B Corp for the work we do specifically on the environment side, for reducing our footprint and the rehabilitation stuff that we do and how we're carbon negative, et cetera, et cetera. So we've been named to this list twice for B Corp. So we're very grateful to receive their honor for the environment work. And basically that's it, folks. So this is my wife and me, and this is GROSCHE. This is, it's our dream, where we call ourselves a humble housewares company with heart. And together, we're trying to be a source of joy in the world and make things just a little bit better. We can't fix it all, but I like to say that we're doing what we can. So that's it for me. Thank you very much for listening. I appreciate it. And with that, I'll pass it back over to Matthew.
Thank you very much, Helmi. Incredibly inspirational presentation and the work that you're doing. And again, if we could take that seed and propagate it, which is what the Climate Hub campaign is trying to do, take successful stories and get other people around the country thinking about them and thinking about how can we make this happen, or how can we incorporate pieces of what's happening. So before we get on to some questions and answers with the audience, first of all, I'll invite everybody to use the Q&A feature at the bottom of the screen, so you can post your questions there or in the chat feature if you'd like. There's also a couple of questions that came in during the registration, so I'll be asking those in just a second. But first, I would like to introduce Kelly, because for the first time she's appearing on a webinar, and I'd like to have her just tell us a little bit about herself. She'll be part of the Climate Reality portrait for the next few months, the first few months of 2018. So please tell us about yourself and about what you're going to be working on and what you're working on at school. Yeah.
Sure. Well, I'm in the middle of my master's degree in the University of Montreal. I'm studying environment and sustainable development. And that's why I wanted to engage with such a project as Climate Reality Canada. This is a very practical way of getting into this area and give something to receive as well, a lot of knowledge and information. I will be mainly doing as an intern of research and communication, I will be focused on the Climate Hub initiative, and I'm very excited of being part of this climate action with all you guys and the people that is not here at this moment, but the ones that are right now in the webinar. I will be with you from January to April, and I will develop a research for my university that will help as well the project of benchmarking of the climate hubs. So basically and mainly that's my task.
Terrific. Thanks so much, Kelly. And we'll be seeing more of her in January and February, of course. So speaking of climate hubs, just a quick pitch for what we're up to. These hubs will be benchmarking themselves against each other on issues of carbon neutrality, how they're progressing on their emissions, as well as issues that really touch everyday citizens. So safety of the streets, you know, can I safely send my child to school on the bicycle? Quality of air, do I feel comfortable, you know, raising a family in this community? Do we take care of our air pollution? And a number of other benchmarking metrics that are outlined here. In fact, I'm going to jump around a little bit in my presentation. So governance metrics, eco-fiscal measures, urban planning, et cetera. So the first report of those 20 cities will be released on Earth Day of next year. Very much looking forward to being able to say, great work, you know, Waterloo, for the incredible things you're doing. Great work, Victoria, for these other things that you're doing. Hey, you know, Quebec City, maybe there's something that you could be doing better compared to your peers. So that's what we're proposing. And of course, the Climate Hub initiative includes three main pillars, those being citizen-driven, acting local in their local communities on solutions that municipalities have the control over implementing, and diversity. So making sure that we're reaching the business community, making sure that we're reaching the academic community, making sure that we're engaging religious communities and professional communities and ethnic communities. So that's part of what each hub is, part of each hub's DNA. And finally, what we're asking each hub to do, in addition to benchmarking, is also help their city along this process of setting a target, well, measuring emissions, first of all, conducting an inventory, and then setting a target for reductions and progressing towards that target. So, I mean, it's night and day to think that, you know, there are municipalities in Canada that are still increasing their emissions every year, and you've got other entities, Oxford County, Victoria, BC, Vancouver, BC, that have committed to carbon neutrality. And then you've got even smaller actors in our beautiful, you know, collective, like Helmi's GROSCHE, that are already carbon negative, which is absolutely terrific to see that it is possible. And we did a webinar a couple of months ago with Dawson College in Montreal, a major college of over 10,000 students, which is also carbon neutral. So it is possible. It's a question of taking these kind of small scale solutions and learning from them and growing or scaling them up. So with that, I will pass it off to questions. So if you have any, please, in the Q&A section. We do have a couple of polls that I'm going to actually, do you want to, should we put a poll out, Helmi? What do you think?
Yeah, why not?
Okay, so we're going to put a poll out to our participants right now. So please have a look at your screen, and we'd like you to respond to these two questions first. We have a third question that'll come up in just a second. The first question being, when's the last time you called a brand's office and asked them what they'd done to reduce and offset their carbon footprint? So you can take a moment to answer that question. I'm Not able to answer, but I will have to say that it's probably the third one in the last year. Maybe
It's
in the last
okay.
year. Could be. It could be in the last year. Very possible. And yeah, as for the other one, do you want to read the other question there, Helmi? Just so that they're your questions.
Sure, yeah, the other question has to do with social impact. And, you know, we choose organic, natural, GMO-free products because they're better for us or better for the environment. But when did you last choose to purposely buy from a company that it paid its people a living wage because it's actually better for their people and for the local community? So did you choose that in the last 3 months, in the past year? But you know what? Not yet, but I'll think about it and I'll try and make some choices this week. So those are our three choices.
Great. Okay, so we'll let a couple more responses come in there. And one of the questions that came to mind for me, the first thing was, when you were working inside a bigger company, how much influence did you feel that you had, and what would you have done differently? Because a lot of people might not be running their own companies right now, but they might be within a structure. So how do you best, within that structure, what are the first kind of steps necessary to get people moving in the right direction?
You know, anytime you're embarking on a process of transformation, I like to use the people, process, technology approach. So I always start with engaging people, much like what you're doing here, is try and reach people who are like-minded. When you have the people and they know why you want to make improvements, then it's to talk about process. So how can we get together as a team, as a green team, as an energy conservation team, as a resource conservation team to drive progress? And finally, when you're driving progress and you're showing that doing the right thing can actually save the company money at the same time, then investment comes in the form of technology, and you can do retrofits and whatnot. Often people jump right to, hey, if you give me $1 million, I can go do this and we can all be green, we can be happy. But you know, that approach, people tend to struggle. So my counsel has always go back, form a group of people, start with people, get engaged, start simple, and build your way up from there. There are always people that are engaged in organizations, in large organizations and small organizations. If you form with them, you connect with them, you can build momentum. I was fortunate that I worked in a team where our senior management really cared about sustainability and cared about the environment. So they were able to get behind it, and we were able to make all the progress and deliver net zero waste plants and zero landfill operation for the entire country, and significant reductions in carbon footprint, and invest a lot of money in it. Of course, they did it with the sight of financial return, but hey, there's nothing wrong with that. The great thing about the environment is doing the right thing for the planet is also doing the right thing for business, because you end up saving money when you save your energy footprint as well. So people, process, technology, that'd be my advice.
Terrific. Thanks a lot.
You're welcome.
Another question here from Tracy. There are 36 locations in Ontario that don't have access to clean drinking water, 17 of which have been this way for a decade. So let's collaborate with a school in Toronto and change this, is the proposition.
Yeah, great question. I've been thinking so much about this, also looking at, you know, there are many communities in central northern Canada that are also battling with safe water. Our particular technology, unfortunately, it requires temperate climate because it builds a healthy bacteria colony. It can only live, this technology can only work where the temperature stays pretty close to, you know, like an equatorial climate. So that's why we work in those hotter countries. So in Canada, this technology, unfortunately, can't work. Otherwise, we would have been employing it everywhere. Having said that, there are many other solutions, but they all require like technological investment in our particular climate to go make work. And there's, you know, commercially available, viable solutions here in Canada where you can put in different kinds of filtration, and you can put in ultraviolet, you can put in ozonation, et cetera, that are more feasible for Canada than our biosand filter solution that I would suggest for here.
Great, thanks a lot. Another question here from Paula. What can you do when you don't have buy-in from top management, or they don't fully understand the concept of shared value?
You know, it's hard to to make changes when your upper management isn't there. But what you can do is gravitate with people who are with you, who are there, and keep building that engaged base. Leadership is very important to get on board, and eventually you have to get them on board to make bigger changes. But don't be afraid to start small. Take those smaller steps, share the pride, share the successes, and get the small wins and keep building on the small wins. Those small wins will go a long way to engaging and bringing upper management, maybe at a later point in time. It's sad to me that in this day and age, in 2017, there's still people who don't see this as their priority. But having said that, that is a reality that we face today. That is why we face the issues we face today. What we have to do as champions and advocates is keep holding hands amongst each other and saying, we're going to do this together because we are in this together. And let's go after the small wins. Let's build on those and kind of go step by step by step by step. When you have the wins, then eventually you can start engaging middle management, getting them involved, and then hopefully senior management as well. I wish we could get everyone, but sometimes you can't. But this is the approach I would still take.
Terrific.
And good luck.
Yeah. I think it's really indicative of what you've been able to do with a small enterprise is, I think people in bigger companies, if they focus on the floor of their office building, maybe not the whole company. Absolutely. Maybe they just focus on their department or their floor or their wing or their team, their work team. That's when you can say, hey, my work team posted better numbers than everybody else. This year we saved 15% on our office expenditures because we conserved and we.
Double-sided printing, the simple stuff, and build from there. Yeah. And Matthew, this has to be a positive thing. We have to be high-fiving in the hallways and saying, hey, this is so awesome. We've done no landfill waste. There's been no pickups for landfill, this week from the office. High five. This is awesome. We cut our waste by half. We're doing double-sided printing. We've reduced this. And, you make it a positive thing rather than you're being bad for the environment. That's when we turn people away. So make it fun, make it positive, make it energetic, have fun with it. And we engage more people with it. When other people say, hey, these guys are having a lot of fun. What are they doing? We should join in with them. This looks like a fun group.
Yeah.
That's when we start engaging more people.
Yeah. I don't want to get too philosophical right now, but if you look at what we've been trained to value over the last 50 or 60 years, the kind of like the shift towards consumerism and materialism, that's not actually what we seek out as human beings. What we seek out is relationship. What we seek out is camaraderie. What we seek out is connection. And we've been kind of convinced that what we actually want is a bigger car or a faster car or a bigger house or this or that. So it is a bit of that, convincing people as well that it's not simply about stuff. But if we can get past that and say it's the relationship I'm building in the office that matters too. So I don't want to. It's a long road down that conversation. But just to share out some of the results, so I'll end the poll. Thank you. We only had about 60% of people participate in the poll, so maybe if folks aren't willing to divulge their sins. But so we had almost 4 out of 5 people saying that they have not yet called a brand's office, but they will this week, and I will count myself among them. In the past year, I don't think I have. I don't think I've done that. I think I've done it in the more distant past. But and secondly, who's making organic choices? 60% of people said in the last 3 months they had, and the other 2 were equally split roughly between in the past year, and they haven't yet done it. So I would say that, in the last 3 months is pretty safe for myself as well. Okay, well, with that, we will conclude, and thank you all for joining us. Thank you, Kelly. Thank you, Helmi. And we'll see you again in the new year. Safe travels if you're traveling, and happiest of holidays.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.